If we were to pose the question, what are the most important skills and practices that you can develop as a musician? I think that improvisation would come up in that conversation. I think that, or micro things like scales, licks, breaks, those things would come up. But I think that there's a skill. I think that you know what it is. I think that there's a skill and a practice that's not only as important as all those things, but more fun to develop than all of them combined, and that's listening. So today, let's do some of that. Hey everyone, Michael here with Banjo Ben. I normally edit the lessons here, but today I'm in front of the camera. And if you've been following the channel for the past few weeks, you know that Ben recently had surgery on his rotator cuff, and that means no playing of instruments. So he is resting right now. Well, actually, he's working really, really hard, but he's resting from creating content. So over the past few weeks, we've had some phenomenal guest instructors, including Kristen Benson, Waden Benson, Jake Workman. So check those out. But this week, for some bizarre reason, Ben has put enough confidence in me to ask me to create some content for you guys. So I'm very honored. And today I just really want to lock in on listening because, of course, we have music playing all the time as we're musicians. But, it's just different when you really lock in and really immerse yourself in a track. And you can get lost so easily. You can get immersed so easily in just a 3-minute track. I mean, you could spend an hour on the thing. But today, we're just going to take a few examples. We're going to go through. We're going to listen carefully. And we're going to talk a little bit about the practice of listening, what that can look like. I want to take this opportunity to invite you over to the forum where we have discussion for all these kind of lessons. We chat a lot. We discuss a lot. Sometimes we jump on Zoom. We do live hangouts. Those are a ton of fun. So if you're not a member, it's free to join. So head on over. It's a great place. Super helpful community. Always super friendly. And while you're there, check out the Gold Pick membership as well. Ben has over 900 lessons at this point. It's just a phenomenal learning resource. We have a site put together with all the details about being a member. It's called joinbanjoben.com. So head over there for sure as well. But without further ado, now's the time to don your headphones because it's going to be really helpful to have, whoa, that audio just changed. It's going to be really helpful to have a pair of good headphones or a good pair of speakers because it allows you to hear just so much more in the music. So I really recommend that if you don't have a pair already. All right, let's just jump in. Let's have some fun listening to some music. All right, so the first step of being a good listener is, of course, knowing good music. And when it comes to bluegrass, there's seldom a better example of good music than the Bluegrass Album Band, aptly named because they made the bluegrass albums. And they were a band. Today we're looking at Volume 3 and one of their most iconic performances, and that is, of course, the song Big Spike Hammer. You probably already know this one, classic. But there's just a few things we want to be mindful of when we jump into listening. So the first things that I'm going to try to notice whenever I listen to any song, bluegrass or otherwise, listen for what the instrumentation is. Okay, what is making the sound here? Now in bluegrass, we have an advantage because the instrumentation is very predictable. Okay, we're going to have guitar, most likely, banjo, mandolin, bass, fiddle, dobro sometimes. It's really a very consistently there's pretty consistent instrumentation, and sometimes you'll have drums or something. Sometimes you might have a little bit of a ringer instrument, but pretty much they're going to be consistent between those six. It's not like listening to like 60s folk pop and there's just like a random like sitar in there, right? So we have an advantage there. The second thing, and this is where having a good pair of headphones or studio monitors comes in, I'm going to try to listen for where everything is. Okay, so one of the most basic elements of mixing is panning. So each instrument is going to be a slightly different place in your ear. So I'm going to be listening in my left ear, my right ear to figure out where these instruments are. Third, usually I just listen for the chord progression. Now, this lesson is not about identifying chords, but we do have a forum hangout session where Ben did a phenomenal just whole lesson on identifying chords based on the tonic note of the chord. Check that out. But we can't really do that today because we'd be here for a long time. But those are the things I'm just going to kind of listen for right off the bat. So the way I'm going to do this, it's a bit of a struggle because I want to balance interrupting and pointing things out with actually letting the music speak for itself. So we're going to listen to the intro, we're going to listen to the verse, we're going to listen to the chorus, and we'll just point out things along the way. So here is the track, and let's just be mindful of those things when we hear this kickoff. All right, so a few things are going to immediately jump out at you, right? So first of all, what you're normally going to notice there is, of course, the banjo, because that's the instrument that's featured here. But, you know, if you're a banjo player, that's also probably what you're locked in on. But there's so much going on there beneath the surface of whatever's happening, whether that's a singer, a solo, there's so much going on. So first, let's think about where all the instruments are. I'm going to play this again. First thing that jumps out to me, and this happens a lot in the album band, is Doyle's mandolin is like right on my left ear. It's panned pretty hard left. Now, this album was recorded almost entirely live. Actually, I think the first 3 albums were recorded entirely live. So there were individual mics on the instruments. There was a room mic overhead to capture the sound of the entire ensemble. And they were just playing live. There are not any overdubs, I don't believe. So that gives this music a very raw feel, a very honest feel. Not all music is like that. A lot of music is very overdubbed. And we're going to look at some of that later on. But so all of the instruments are panned in slightly different directions. So I have Doyle in my left ear. I have JD on banjo in my right ear. Tony feels a little closer to the center. Bass is usually right down the center. And we also have fiddle and dobro in here, but I'm not hearing a lot of it yet. There's a little bit of fiddle in my right ear. Just heard a little bit of flux, Jerry Douglas in the left. Hear that very subtle dobro on the left? And you hear Bobby Hicks on fiddle filling in that last part. So that's more or less where we are. And we also have Tony's vocal, like pretty much right down the middle. Now, just think about the dynamics there. One thing for you guitar players, listen to Tony's rhythm here. Something very cool he does. Right there, he puts a G run right there. Now, normally we insert G runs at the end of phrases, like he does, I think, at the end of the kickoff. Right here. He does a G run there, but he also does one right here. As the banjo is going into its next section, like the little repeat of the verse. So that's unique. You know, Tony uses a lot of these common licks, but he will move them around and syncopate them and put them in unexpected places. This isn't too crazy, but it's very cool because it's propelling the song forward. Like rather than tagging it, he's putting a G run as we're landing into this next section. I just think that's so cool. And you can hear the other instruments like Jerry Douglas on dobro being very subtle there.
Can't you hear the ripple of my big spike hammer? Lord, it's busting my side.
You start to hear these fills from Bobby Hicks.
That woman, still she's not satisfied.
A perfect chorus, isn't it?
Treat me this way. Hey, hey, Delta May, I'll get even someday.
Wow, so much to talk about there. All right, so let's talk about this chorus. First, one thing is they hang on the one chord. This lesson isn't about chords, but they hang on the one chord the entire chorus. Some people like to put a 5 on that, why do you treat me this way? They just hang on 1.
Hey, hey, Delta May, why do you treat me this way? Hey.
That's all 1, if I'm not mistaken. Let's listen. You can hear JD's banjo backup right here.
Why do you?
He does a little walk back in there, but he's not playing through this whole thing, right? And that part of that is because he's singing baritone. Okay, it's hard to sing while you're rolling banjo. So we have Doyle Lawson on tenor, we have JD on baritone. The harmonies are a little bit quieter than the lead.
Hey, hey, Delta May,
Baritone's pretty quiet.
Why do you treat me
No banjo.
this way?
A little bit of banjo, maybe.
Hey, Delta May,
banjo, no banjo. So you can see where he's singing, he's not playing. And if you watch a live performance of the album band, you can see that. He sings a phrase, plays a fill, he sings a phrase, he plays a fill. Very cool. He's just basically doing a G run or a G lick and a walk. Two, we can hear Jerry Douglas filling a little bit there. Listen for him in your left ear. Love that fill. And then just one last thing, the entire band, and this might be something you notice first, the entire band is doing a swell together in between those vocal lines.
Why do you treat me this way?
Push.
Hey, hey, Delamain, I'll get even some.
So Tony especially is getting that big rhythm, a chunk in between those. Hey, hey, Delamain, a chunk, right? That just makes a sound. Another perfect example is Somehow Tonight.
Somehow tonight I feel lonely, my darling.
A chunk, right? So iconic. Just pure bluegrass rhythm, hard driving. I love how Bobby Hicks started his solo very close to the melody. It goes off at the end there.
I'm the best hammer swinger in this big.
Okay, so now listen for this. Listen for Jerry Douglas filling on dobro. And you notice that JD went from rolling back up to vamping back up.
Best hammer swinger in this big section game. Big Bill Johnson is my name. This spike hammer that I swing for $1.50 a day. It's all for my Delamain. Hey, hey,
So good there. I love Jerry's fills. This really makes the second verse for me, especially this fill here.
my name.
That
This
one,
spike hammer,
perfect.
Big Bill Johnson is my name. This
It's so catchy. It's so simple. It sticks out because I think he's doing octaves there. And so he's playing that in 2 octaves at once, I believe. And it's just a catchy tune, right? So he's really just walking from A flat, B flat, B. So you're getting the B major scale there. We're in the key of B, by the way. Tony's capoed up and JD capoed up to 4 to play out a G.
in this big section game.
And these
Big
fills are
Bill
intermittent.
Johnson is
You know?
my name.
They're not
This
overbearing.
spike hammer that I swing for $1.50
And right
a
here,
day.
listen to JD.
It's all for my Delamain.
The banjo goes back to rolling.
Hey, hey,
Very cool. Love that little detail.
this spike hammer that I swing for $1.50 a day. It's all for my Delamain. Hey, hey.
Also, Tony's rhythm runs into the chorus, into that D chord. They are so. I think he does that like 5 times in this song. That
Half a day, it's all for my Delamain. Hey, hey,
he loves to do that.
Delamain,
This little syncopated D run.
why do you treat me this way? Hey, hey, Delamain, I'll get even someday.
Listen to the rhythm section and the guitar solo. I feel like, so we lost the rhythm guitar, right? We lost that constant filling and chunk. But the rhythm became so percussive right here. You can also hear the bass a little clearer. Mark Schatz on bass, I believe. Or no, this is, yeah, should have read the cover, Todd Phillips. I think Schatz was on the later albums. So Todd Phillips on bass, you can really hear him here, just rock solid. And Doyle is not doing a lot either. He's pretty much just chopping this entire song. There's no mandolin solo, really no mandolin fills. But the 3 of them right here, Doyle, Todd, and JD, vamping, it just creates this bounce and this percussiveness. get a little more space because there's no guitar rhythm. But man, that guitar is front and center and in your face.
Well, I've been lots of places, not much I ain't done.
You hear JD jumping up right here?
Well, I've been lots of places,
Going up the neck.
not much I ain't done. There's still a lot of things I'd like to see. But this hammer that I swing, or the woman that I love, yeah, one's gonna be the death of me.
And he's back down.
Hey, hey, devil.
And then the banjo drops out. You can really listen. You can listen to this entire track and just listen to JD. And that would be a great study. You can listen to this entire track and just listen to Tony or Doyle or Jerry, and it would be a great study. We can't do that because this video would be like an hour long. But man, there is so much detail hidden in here. It's not hidden, it's just how it naturally works. But there is so much detail that just listening carefully brings out.
Why do you treat me this way? Hey, hey, devil man.
We're coming up on a cool section here.
I'll get even someday. Big spike hammer, big spike hammer.
So you have a unique little ending there. It's not a normal part of the song, like just ending on the chorus or something. I love that. But you can hear the entire band drops down in volume on that big spike hammer.
Big spike hammer. Big
Very
spike
spacey.
hammer.
So the banjo is entirely out.
Big spike hammer. Big spike hammer.
And then there's a dynamic lift as the fiddle comes in blasting that ending lick.
I'll get even someday. Big spike hammer. Big spike hammer.
And it's ending, everybody just mashes it, right?
Spike hammer.
Okay, you can hear that bombastic rhythm lick from Tony. You hear JD hit a lick at the end there, so they really, they're all ending it together. They're kind of all doing their own thing to just give this song probably the strongest dynamic that it has throughout the entire thing, right? I love it. They're all moving together. They're breathing. Good music breathes, right? So fantastic example of just bluegrass band dynamics. If you want to get better at playing with other people, listen to the Bluegrass album band and watch them on stage as well. You can see how they move around to the mics. You can see when they don't play, when they play light, when they play heavy. Just absolute top class. So you can see how just listening to something and being a little nerdy about it, being curious about what's this guy doing? What's this guy doing? Listening multiple times, you start to notice a lot of very cool things. All right, let's take a look at another example. Okay, so I wanted to pick an album with a very distinctive sound. And when I think of bluegrass albums with very distinctive sounds, what comes to mind? Manzanita by Tony Rice. This album doesn't have a banjo. Okay, so sorry banjo players, but you can still learn a lot from listening to these band dynamics. This album doesn't have a banjo, and what that means, if you think about it, there's a limited amount of space sort of in a track. If you put so much, it starts to really fill up and it starts to sound a little muddy. Of course, that can be a desired effect. Maybe you want a wall of sound. You start to have too little, it sounds very spacey. Manzanita is on the spacier side of things. Okay, we've eliminated an entire instrument from the lineup. But we've got Blue Railroad Train, okay? And this is just a fantastic arrangement, fantastic cut. Everything is at the top of the game again. But you'll notice this album has that spacey sound, also sounds really woody. Again, this album, almost all of it, there's very few overdubs. It's very much live. So we've got guitar, fiddle, mandolin, and bass and dobro. Okay, Tony on guitar, Sam Bush on mandolin, Ricky Skaggs on fiddle, Todd Phillips on bass, and of course, Jerry Douglas on dobro. Let's listen to this intro and notice where everything is. So cool. Okay, so obviously we know where the guitar is, just front and center and in your face. May not be exactly center panning wise, but we've got fiddle in our left ear, and we've got mandolin in our right, bass right down the middle. Notice how busy the fiddle is here. Listen specifically to the fiddle. He's playing a good amount right there, but it's not too overbearing, and it sounds like he's not like, you know, the mix engineer, obviously he's lowering the volume on this if you got a busy fiddle player. So much of that Bluegrass Album Man stuff, Bobby Hicks is just playing all over it. If you listen to stuff like I think it's On My Way Back to the Old Home, I mean, he's just going crazy the entire thing. So you can do that in this kind of scenario where the mix engineer can turn you down. You know, it sounds like he's farther away, right? It's not just, but that guitar is very, very present. And so that's what's going to draw your attention, right? And the fiddle is just in the background.
Blue railroad train, going down the railroad track. Makes me feel so doggone blue to listen to that old smokestack.
Or a little bit of dobro there.
Leaving me here behind. Give me back
Love that rhythm.
good old days and let me ramble down the line.
Oh man, so okay, that rhythm guitar is like a bomb. But notice, arrangement-wise, we're going to talk about arrangement a little bit. I like how the tenor is just on that one line. It's just on Blue Railroad Train. Okay, that's a little bit different than most bluegrass, where you'll have harmonies on the verse, the entire verse, or just the chorus. This is just one line.
Blue Railroad Train, going
and that's
down
it.
The railroad track.
The rest is just the lead.
Makes me feel.
Listen to the bass as well. The bass is doing some great walks and so percussive throughout the song too.
Going down the railroad track.
It's where having headphones helps.
Makes me feel so doggone blue.
Right there.
Makes me feel so doggone
Again, one of those things you might not notice, but it adds that feeling of movement to the whole thing.
blue to listen to that old smokestack.
And that's like the first time you heard Flux, Jerry Douglas on dobro, through the whole thing. It's just that little right there. I love how Tony hits that. Just there's a space and he fills it.
To listen to that old smokestack. Travelers are rolling on, leaving me here behind. Give me back them
With that
good old
walk
days
again for the
and let me
bass.
ramble down the line.
Now the fiddle's moving in for the solo. Okay, so fiddle's been filling this entire time, moving in for the solo now. It's nice, it's kind of like an act of foreshadowing with all that filling going on. But listen to the guitar rhythm here. I know I'm talking a lot about it, but it's just the elephant in the room.
We ramble down the line.
I mean, what is that? Okay, did you hear that? No one in a million years, right? Only Tony Rice. No one in a million years would think of doing that. But you listen to this kind of stuff, and you start to listen to players like Tony or jazz players, and you start to think outside the box with what you can do with rhythm or rolling banjo backup or whatever it may be. Mandolin chops. You listen to Sam Bush and Chris Thiele hit these crazy, triplet things. And that's just what inspires, another generation to just keep experimenting. And it really hammers that 4 chord. And you have that entire measure of just like a lick, right? Again, not a super fancy lick, but just the way he phrases that and puts it in that place specifically. Syncopated, and then just hammering that G chord. He's capoed up 3. This is an F. He's capoed up 3 and playing out of D position. So G is his 4 chord right here. I mean, that alters the entire feel, right? I mean, he could have just kept chunking along. Boom, 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 boom. But instead, boom, down, boom, down, right? And that's not often heard in just your normal bluegrass. Yeah, something else. Okay. So the second verse here, we start to hear a little more dobro.
Leaving me here alone.
Again, tasteful fills.
The
mandolin rhythm too, as well. Sam Bush right here, my right ear. He's being a little more bouncy, a little more busy maybe than Doyle was. Again, this song's just got such that bouncy feel.
Blue railroad train, blue railroad train, blue railroad train.
We're into Jerry's solo. Now, it's a little bit of a fake ending, right? And we're going to hear that again at the end. And right there as well in the solo, I love how the music just does a lift. Right here. As he's moving up, you really get the sense that the music is lifting. Nice little G run in the chorus. He does that slamming the G chord thing. That again, he brings it back.
Blue railroad train, a good old pal to me.
All right, here's the
Takes me
ending.
everywhere I wanna go, get my transportation free. Blue railroad train, blue railroad train, blue railroad train.
So they bring back that thrice repeated Blue Railroad Train that we heard in the middle.
Railroad train, blue railroad train, blue railroad train.
And they use that to end it as well. My guess is they probably were going to end it like that, and they decided to put that in the middle of the song to just give it variety. But it's great. It's like a little bit of foreshadowing. It's kind of like an author introducing a character into a story and then bringing it back later. That's kind of dumb analogy, but it's like the Chekhov's gun of music, right? This is literally the Chekhov's gun of bluegrass. But just arrangement makes a huge difference in the memorability of your track, right? Imagine if they just played every verse the same. It would get boring fast, right? And so these little things, they're part of why we return to songs again and again. It makes it interesting. It keeps it varied, and it just makes for your favorite moments. If you were to think of your favorite moments in a song, it's probably going to be something like that, where you just went, that is tasteful, that is really interesting. Speaking of that, we're going to look at our final example here, and this is a bit of a newgrass example, or maybe just bluegrass adjacent, but this is Nickel Creek, and off the album This Side, and this is the title track. And this track is much different than the past two, despite having similar instrumentation. We have Chris Thiele on mandolin, Sarah Watkins on fiddle, Sean Watkins on guitar. This is a 2002 album. You'll hear that 2000s influence in here. But despite having similar instrumentation, this song is much different philosophy when it comes to how it was done. There's going to be more overdubs. You use some doubling as well. And it's composed differently. It's not like a bluegrass song where you have maybe an intro that's just kind of like the verse melody, and then you sing a verse and chorus and you play a break. This is much more akin to like a pop or rock, just song structure, and then it's got a riff, and then it's gonna have a solo in it. It's gonna have a couple solos, but it's not just like improvising or the melody. It's a bit different than that. But more than that, I just wanted to introduce you guys to this epic song because it's one of my favorites. All right. Okay, so that intro right there, great build, right? So we start out with just Chris and Sean playing mandolin guitar on this intro. And just a beautiful soundscape already, but then the rest of the band drops in. Now you notice there's two mandolins going on right here. One is Chris playing the riff, and then one is Chris playing rhythm. There's a chop. Another thing I love about this intro, now you heard the riff, right? You could probably hum it already, right? Da, 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 da. As we start out, Sean, who's in the right ear, is playing that riff on guitar. He's playing the melody. Chris is not playing that. He's playing some leading tones up and down. He's not playing the riff. But then now he's playing the melody of the riff, right? So they switch off there, but when they're playing together, it almost reminds me of like counterpoint in like a Bach fugue or something, where you've got those two voices moving. It's not quite like that, but you've got the two voices moving at the same time.
One day you'll see her and you'll know what I mean.
Listen to Chris's chops. They are not normal mandolin chops. So percussive, varied in the rhythm. We got some funkier chords than you normally hear in regular bluegrass. Adds a lot of color. We got some strings going on. Back in the riff. So now one cool thing, if you notice when it went into the sort of chorus, it's foreign on this side. How many voices do we have? One, right? But now you notice there's a doubled vocal. I think it's Chris on top of him. You barely notice that, but they're singing in unison here. Adds that just texture change. So much music is about texture. And we've got a fuller sound with like strings coming in. And now you hear Chris's mandolin is doubled, okay? So really now we've got 3 mandolin tracks, at least 3 going on, because I can hear Chris in my left ear, in my right ear, and there's a chop, right? So doubling is a common technique, not so common in bluegrass, but often like a guitar riff or guitar solo, it'll be doubled. And that means you play it, and you record it again, you play it again. It'll be slightly different, and the engineer will pan it left and right. And so it gives us this bigger sound, and that's what you're hearing going on with the riff here. So good.
You dream of colors that have never been made. You imagine songs that have never been played. They will try to buy you and your mind, but
harmonies are so good, dude. I mean, he just comes in like straight out of left field. So he comes kind of trailing behind him, and now they're together, right? That's just a fantastic entrance. Just add some variety. Kind of sounds like he's almost in the distance. Kind of emo, you know. But those harmonies are spot on. And now, got some harmony vocals lifting the whole thing up. Whereas in the first verse we had strings coming in here. Now we got some strings again, but we had some harmony vocals. Sounded like from Sarah. Now this gnarly mandolin break. Again, double. And into the fiddle break. And they're just hammering this. They're just hammering this. And then it all calms down. That solo section, man, there's so much. First, notice how Sean is playing his rhythm guitar throughout most of the song. Just normal strumming, big open chords, he's letting it ring out. Now notice when they go into that very aggressive mandolin break. Listen to the strumming. Now it's da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, right? It's very percussive, a lot more staccato, right? Which the entire band is creating this texture. And into this crazy fiddle solo. Notice that da da da. That's not just Sarah doing that. That's the entire band doing that. All right. So she's playing this melody, and the whole band moves along with it. All right. So it's different than just you're in a jam and you're just kind of improvising, noodling. This is arranged. Whole band does that rhythm. And out of it. What a perfect transition. I'm serious. This is ridiculous. I mean, from the change of chords there, you can hear at the end, right here. Da, da, da. It's walking up, I think, chromatically. So, and that's giving it this very moment of tension, then immediate lift. Now we're settling down.
Entrance is crucial, and it's not without pain.
But not for long. More of these harmonies, and then
Climb up the slide,
ow.
and then you'll slide down the stairs. It's foreign on this side.
Man, that is a little bit reminiscent of like Lonesome River Band, right? Which was an influence on Chris in his early years, bluegrass years, where we were kind of syncopated as and you hear from the bass there as well. Listen to the bass if you can.
Climb up the slide and then you'll slide down the stairs. It's foreign on this side, but
harmonies are a little bit different than
There's no place
before,
to
right? Now he's repeating that foreign on this side, and then he joins him.
stairs. It's foreign on this side.
Also, you can hear the violin chunking in both ears right here.
It's foreign on this side.
It's hard to hear, but you can hear that percussiveness from the violin.
It's foreign on this side. But it feels like I'm home again. There's no place to hide, but I don't think I'm scared.
We're gonna tag it.
But I don't think I'm scared. There's no place to hide, but I don't think I'm scared.
I think it's gonna like end right here, right? But one more thing. There's this whole extra section at the end. And really, it would have worked fine to just end it on some like massive E chord. But instead, we're going from, again, like the highest dynamic of the song, like the loudest part is like
No place to hide, but I don't think I'm scared.
I mean, you hear the mandolin. First of all, it's doubled in both ears, and he's just going at it. Like,
There's no place to hide, but I don't think I'm scared.
and that final, just you hear the entire thing just give this giant like punch in the ears.
To hide, but I don't think I'm scared.
And this is the loudest part of the song, and it goes into the quietest part. And it ends peacefully, right? It ends how it starts, right? With just mandolin and guitar. Just a slightly different melody, right? Or quite a different melody, honestly. Man, you hear, like, I just talked for like 15 minutes about this 3-minute song. There's so much in here. It is just jam-packed with things that, just so many details, so many little, and it's not like, oh well, like all this boring minutia. Like, no, it's like literally actually interesting stuff packed into a 3.5-minute track. A lot of Nickel Creek's music is like that. A lot of Punch Brothers music, ridiculously layered. You'll start to hear different music, and you'll be like, this band does things more layered. This band does things more raw and simple. This band tends to track their stuff live. This band is more hard driving. This band's really good at stops. And all these things, these different textures, they give a band its sound. And you can really get really nerdy about it and just, analyze it till all get out. But that's this side. Great album, by the way. What a track. What a track is all I can say. All right, I hope you enjoyed this little joyride through a couple different tracks. I hope it was fun for you. I hope you give me grace. I'm trying to strike a balance between talking about a lot of stuff, but also not making it so I'm interrupting every 3 seconds. So ask for your patience there. But thank you so much for watching. I want to invite you, wherever you're watching, come on over to the forum, scroll down and leave a comment about the song you've been most recently obsessed with, or just some moment in a song, some favorite musical moment that you just really love. Let's just talk about stuff we really, really dig in songs. It's just so fun. There's so much to talk about, and it makes us better as listeners, makes us better as players, and it makes us better as musicians. So check out the forum if you're not already on there. If you are, please let me know what you thought of this kind of exercise, and while you're at it, let Ben know how relieved you'll be to see him back after this. Thanks for watching.